Over the summer, I went to the extremely controversial Robert E. Lee statue. While viewing it, I wondered if there was anything similar to this story in my home state of Maryland. To an outsider, this seems to be an average parking lot, but actually, it is a paved-over cemetery. In Bethesda, Maryland, an African-American cemetery was smothered by a parking lot for a high-rise apartment building. The cemetery belonged to the Church of Macedonia. To learn more about this, I spoke to David Cathan, a local historian.
There are a couple streets that go up from river. One is called Clipper, one's called Dorsey, and I think that's the two ones I can think of right now. And those are named after the families that lived in the neighborhood. That's all that's left, besides the church.
According to David Cathan, allegedly, bodies were most likely bulldozed into a ditch, making room for the parking lot. For more information, I spoke to members of the church.
No bodies was ever taken out of there to move somewhere else to be relocated, like they usually see them do in some cemeteries, where cemeteries located at. They will take the bodies and buy some property somewhere else and take them and re-burn them. This wasn't the case in the Moses Cemetery. And they used to find body parts when they were doing the construction of that high rise. And when they found body parts, they would ring a bell. And the reason for ringing the bell, that the work would stop until whatever remains they found, they got them removed from the area where they were doing the construction. And then what they used to do, the man who built that property, his grandson and the priest, they used to take the human remain parts and put them in burlap sacks and then haul them further north up to the head of county landfill in Rockville, and they had a disposal site further up in Poolsville up off River Road.
Yet, in Potomac, Maryland, streets named after Confederate generals remain. Jubal Early, a Confederate general, was also part of the Lost Cause, a movement focused on saving the Confederate beliefs after the war ended. The Robert E. Lee statue was boxed in, sparking nationwide protests that ended in 2 deaths. In Maryland, an entire cemetery gets paved over, but there are no protests that even compare to the ones in Charlottesville.
They lost their homes on little nothing. Like a cheap bottle of wine, got them intoxicated, and tell them sign a piece of paper for the lease of their land and whatnot. And the ones that couldn't write their name, they said just put a mark. And like, I'll take care of you the rest of your life. If you sign that mark, come back 30 days later and tell you where the man I used to work for, I don't work for him anymore, he sold to someone else. But now what they're saying is, you have to leave this property in 30 days.
Property wasn't the only thing destroyed.
I think anger, because you realize that someone must have felt so that whoever decided to desecrate the cemetery had no regard for Africans or Black people at all. And it's very sad when people are so divorced from their humanity that they're able to desecrate sacred spaces.
But to see it being built, you would say yourself how it was a hurt. It was a hurt. It was a concern. And it had the knowledge to know that the white man them had came in here and had beat all the blacks out their homes.
If Black American history continues to get paved over, what did our ancestors die for? To not only be paved over, but also ignored is deepening the wound. The future lies in your hands. Are you going to make a stand, or are you going to let the barriers be rebuilt?